Hi, everyone. We are very lucky to have TJ with us. And he is a superstar within international student community. He always have an interesting story to share. I'm very excited to see what he is going to share with us today and learn from his journey. Hi, TJ. Do you mind to share, introduce a bit about yourself?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Yi. Thanks for inviting me today. I'm TJ or Tejas, whatever. Some people know me as TJ. I am an alumni from Trobe University, Bendigo campus. I did my master's in urban planning, and I'm currently working with the Victorian Planning Authority, one of the state government agencies. And yeah, pretty much it has been an incredible journey as an international student. Um, Being an ambassador in 2019 of Study Melbourne, and to being the International Student of the Year in 2018. So it's been really interesting and very much enjoyable journey for me.
Yeah, what an achievement. I remember when we were ambassador, you are always super energetic and super fun to talk with, and you have a lot of story to share. I'm just wondering, do you mind to share about your journey, how you landed your job after graduation?
Yeah, I think it's thanks for asking that question firstly. It's a very interesting question, and I do come across that question quite often as an international student and as an international alumni. Um, the most It's not just one thing that you do as an international student that gets you a job. I mean, a lot of people might think you might apply through through Seek or some other portal that you sort of refer to, but it's basically going all in. It's like a gamble, going with all your currency in and with all your efforts in. It's very important to sort of realize your asset and um, what you have uh, the special quality as. And sort of what I sort of did with my journey was, initially when I came in for 6 months, I only knew that I had I had my architecture background, so I focused on architecture for the first 6 or months to a year, and then once I built a bit of local understanding of the rules and regulations, then I moved on to, okay, now I need to go to planning. And then the next year when I was studying, I went full on, just looking at planning opportunities, and started working as on different roles within the planning industry. This actually came to me from my course coordinator, and she sort of helped me out land in a few jobs. Her name's Julie Ragna, and she is the course coordinator at La Trobe for Masters of Planning. So she's been an inspiration. She's been a mentor all throughout, and I've been in discussions with her lately about career guidance and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, as much as international students keep doing stuff, there's no end to it. You just need to sort of keep going, keep going harder and harder at each time. And then yeah, just sort of applying for different opportunities, meeting different people for coffees, getting your LinkedIn profile updated, sending random messages to random people. Crazy times, interesting times. Some being entertained, some being ignored, but it's all right. It's The important thing is not to lose hope and just keep going, keep going. And I think with the role that I am in, I actually had been interviewed for a different position within the organization, and I got rejected in January 2019, I believe. Yeah, and then I was a bit disappointed. I didn't know what to do, but then, because I was going very hard each time I applied for a job, and there's nothing positive coming out. Was getting an interview, that was a positive, but not a job opportunity that was being converted. So yeah, just after that, I met for a coffee. I met with my course, with one of my professors. He offered me a job on a casual basis, and that actually got me connected with a few people, and people started knowing me, and people knew him, which is why when I got interviewed for this role in about in about March, April last year. And I got this job, and yeah, pretty going very intense. Initial 2 months were crazy. Couldn't understand what to do, what not to do. But yeah, here I am.
Congratulations, that's a very big achievement.
Thank you.
So you mentioned when you first come in Australia, you were focused on architecture, and
Yes.
you kind of moved into planning area. Why is that? Why did you make this change or transition?
Well, it's not actually a transition. So what I understand, what my asset was as an architect, I have my undergraduate degree in architecture, and so and also I had an experience of about a year and a half to 2 years in architecture, and my dad's an architect as well. So I have a better understanding of architecture, and so I thought maybe because getting a job as a planner without no experience, with no proper qualification, was quite difficult. So, and architecture is one of the things where you come across a lot of rules and regulations which will be helpful to understand how the planning system in Australia sort of works. So I thought maybe that's a good way to sort of get understanding of things, and then getting your name out there that, okay, this is what I am, or this is what I've got skills of. And that also tells that you are very passionate and you're very active as an international student, and that is what makes us different when we start applying for jobs, because it's not just one piece of paper. And I'm no disrespect to anyone's resume or any application, but a piece of paper cannot just define you. It's very limited. There's so much limited information that you can provide, but then your work is something that will talk a lot more than those words, and that's evidence. That's your evidence to support your application. So I think that is why I decided to get going with architecture. And then once a year into it, in the second year, I thought maybe this is the time when I've done 1 year in planning, and now I can build on my experience from there and start looking for opportunities in planning, because my course coordinator and my professors knew what I was capable of. They understood my horizons, and then that's how I stayed in touch with them. And then I just built my subjects as my experience. I did not look at it as an academic subject. I looked at it as an international experience. And it's important to understand as an international student that everything you do is your experience. So you might network, that's your experience. That's something you gain. I mean, you have not a lot of us don't do it back home, and this is a new sort of scenario that we fall into, or the new normal, what we want to call it. So it's starting to get used to it. It's just training yourself, training your body, and training your mind to understand what you want to do.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. I think you mentioned one important point is everything you have done or you're trying to do can be your asset or your experience, even just the networking, and starting from not sure how to network to really kind of know how to navigate in the networking situation. I think that's a very good point. And also you mentioned about talking to lots of people and ask their advice, and maybe have a coffee chat, or maybe it's just a course advisor or professor, talk to as many people as you can, to also understand ourselves a bit better and understand the career pathway we might be able to get in. I think that's a very good one. And also apart from that, do you have any career advice or tips about job hunting, or how to just deal with rejection or the advice to current international students?
I see a couple of questions there. So just to go back to the first one, with networking and being in touch with your course coordinators, I think a funny story that with me was that the very first day I walked into my class, I usually used to have block modes, so like 8 hours of lectures, and then I had a lunch break. And in the first lunch break, so basically in the after first 3 or 4 hours, I went up to my subject, every subject coordinator or professor that taught me, and I was like, okay, this is what, like, I'm an architect, I've done this, and I'm looking to seek advice. It doesn't matter if it's unpaid as well. I just want experience and I want to learn, and that is how I went about it. One. Second, you spoke about coffee meetups. There have been crazy times. I must admit. I mean, I do regret a lot of the times very important people I've met and stupid questions I've asked. But that's okay. That was my learning. That was my understanding of how I wanted to go about it. So that was a crucial sort of a journey that I learned from myself and from talking to people, and then just I mean, it's very difficult as international student to keep up and to keep up with everything that's going around. I mean, networking is one of the initiatives that we need to go to, but we need to do it right. We are constantly conscious. I mean, some of the networking events I went to, I didn't know what to do, and I literally went up who to talk as well. I just went up to a bar, got a drink, and just held the drink and waited for the air for all long. The only policy was to wait from the start of the event to end of the event. So that means that I'm fully exposed to the people, and then I could at least meet some of them and then follow up and then meet up with them. So that was the way I went about it. There was something else you asked as well. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, I was also wondering what other career advice or tips you want to give to international students.
Yes, in terms of career advice, I think it's a broader term as a career advice. Career advice is very subjective and very it would vary from person to person, but on a general note, it's just about being out there, being able to accept everything that's going around. I know right now we are in a situation of COVID-19 where we are not able to get out and meet people. It's a challenging situation, but there are different platforms, there are different people who are conducting various events where you just basically go in, you put your heads up. It's not about doing everything right. It's definitely not about doing everything right. It's about putting your name out there. And a lot of the times you might apply for multiple positions, get rejections, get accepted, or lots of different things. But it's important to be able to digest it. One very important thing is that when you get rejected for any job, when you get rejected for any application, my first thing is forget it, because you can't do anything about it. It's done. At the most, what you can do is call them up, ask them, okay, why was I rejected? If they give you a feedback, well and good. If they don't, that's still fine. But it just shows that you are very much active and very much keen to learn. Like, my professor actually said this to me once, one of my directors at work, he said this to me. You're a very different individual, because the reason they felt this was because I still go back to them and I'm like, tell me what's wrong in me. Tell me what I need to improve. I never asked for what's good or what I've done good. And because a lot of the times in Australia, they have this sandwich feedback where they would quote it with the good, give you a negative feedback and then quote it with the good. So mostly we tend to look at the good part and ignore the bad part, or the negative, or the improvisation part, I would say. So my take to that is ignore the good part, focus on the negatives. It's all right. I mean, that's what keeps me going. I mean, that has constantly shown me, okay, where I need to improve, what I need to improve. I remember my I'm going back to my professor constantly with my resume. And I know, like, as much as I've said earlier, that resume is not the only thing, but of course you need that perfect as well. So getting there, when I was getting there, I went back to my professor and literally asked them where I need to put commas, where I need to put bold, where I need to put italics, where I need to put underlines, and stuff like that. With some very minimal things, people might get annoyed with such stuff. I mean, they would think, is that really important in a resume? It's actually not important in a resume. It actually tells how much attention to detail do you have in your own resume, and how much you are very keen to be different. And so, honestly, it's about being different. So, couple of things: identify what your skills are, capitalize on them, and keep improving, and just keep going. That's it. I mean, that's what I would see it as. Of course, you might have comments on that.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with it. I think you have a good summary about the journey and the process of an international student, about job hunting process. I think you are a very amazing role model for many of the international students. I think I can also see because you have developed a resilience through your journey and always keep improving. I think that's one important message that many of international students should know and or should hear from your journey. I think you are truly inspiring, and a lot of things that international students or we can learn from it and keep improving a bit by bit. I think, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Yi. It was interesting and it was fun being with you. Thanks for all the questions. I'm sorry I've been speaking a lot as usual. As you might know me, I talk a lot. But yeah, it's always good to share experiences. It's good to share what we've done. The only reason I do it because when I came in, there were a few people who shared their experiences with me. That didn't mean that I had to do what they said, but it meant that there was something that I need to keep an eye out on. And I wouldn't say I ignored their questions. I wouldn't say I took everything on board, but I kept it in mind. That's important. Keep things in mind. Do not ignore or do not leave things. So that's my last piece of advice. Thank you.
Thank you.